How's it going, guys? My name is Jimmy Champagne, and today I'm going to tell you everything that happens in Glass, and then I'm going to give you my spoiler-filled review of M. Night Shyamalan's finisher to the East Rail 177 trilogy. Glass picks up 15 years after Unbreakable, and since that movie, David Dunn has retired from the stadium security job. He's opened up a home security store, and he moonlights as the vigilante known as the Overseer, with his son Joseph being the man in the chair. Together, they track down Kevin Wendell Crumb, who is now under the Horde's full control. Dunn fights the Beast, but they're both apprehended by Dr. Ellie Staple, and they're taken to the same mental health facility that Elijah Price has been locked away in since the events of Unbreakable. Dr. Staple's goal is to convince all three of them that their superpowers are actually just illusions brought on by traumatic events in their individual lives. She also has a brain device which she hopes will cure them, and the first subject she decides to use it on is Price. While she interviews the three subjects, she uses their weaknesses to explain away their strengths. Dunn is scared of water because he was almost drowned by bullies as a kid. Price obviously has insecurity caused by his extremely brittle bones, and Kevin Wendell Crumb is terrified to take the light because he doesn't want to face the memories of his mother's abuse. On top of that, to combat their abilities, Price is heavily sedated at all times, Crumb is subjected to a hypnotic light that forces his personalities to switch, and Dunn is surrounded by a bunch of water jets that stop him from using his strength. While she's trying to convince the three superpowered individuals that they're not special, Dr. Staple brings in Casey, who in the time since the events of Split has revealed her uncle's abuse and now lives in a foster home. She does her best to help Kevin understand that he doesn't need to hide behind his personalities, but her efforts fail when Price is able to break out by switching sedatives with aspirin. He then convinces the Horde that the Beast has to fight David Dunn at the opening of a new skyscraper in downtown Philly to show the world that superpowers are real. Before they can even escape the hospital though, Dunn breaks out and he does his best to fend off the Beast while saving as many people as he can in the process. The Beast almost manages to kill him by throwing him into his cell's water supply, but at the last second, Joseph reveals that Crumb's dad died on the East Rail 177. Because of that, Mr. Glass is at least in part the creator of the Beast. The Beast fatally injures Mr. Glass before being calmed down by Casey, and while Kevin has the light, he's fatally shot by a SWAT team who then drowns David Dunn. Dr. Staple reveals that she's part of a 10,000-year-old organization who wants to keep humanity on a level playing field by eliminating superheroes. Her ultimate goal is to convince these people that they're crazy instead of killing them, but she failed, and that's why Mr. Glass, the Overseer, and the Beast were all executed. At the last second, it turns out though that Elijah was using the 100 different cameras Staple had set up to record the entire showdown between the Beast and the Overseer. He streamed those recordings to an unknown computer, which then sends the videos to Joseph, Casey, and Elijah's mom. They then post the footage online to show people who have powers that there are others like them out there and they're not crazy. And that's how the movie ends. Glass is splitting critics right down the middle, and I can see why that's happening, but I absolutely love this movie. Even though Shyamalan gets a little lost in the delivery of the message he's trying to get across, that message is a powerful one, and this movie's story does feel like the logical conclusion to the trilogy that Unbreakable set up in the very beginning. While the movie's called Glass, it's a little bit of a misnomer because this is a sequel to Split, and James McAvoy's character Kevin Wendell Crumb is absolutely at the center of it, and that's fine with me, because at the end of Unbreakable, I really didn't care about seeing where David Dunn's story would go, but at the end of Split, I wanted to see what would happen next to Kevin immediately. That being said though, in the scenes that involve both David Dunn and Mr. Glass, both Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson give one of, if not the best performances of their entire career. David Dunn actually stood out to me a little bit more because I just like the character Bruce Willis is playing. He's sort of soft-spoken and understated, and he's contemplative, but you always know what he's thinking, and he's pretty much entirely driven by his will to do good with the superpower he discovered in Unbreakable. The one big disappointment here for me is that Mr. Glass is kind of getting the short end of the stick because he's sedated for the first half of the movie, and when he does kick his plan into gear and he teams up with the Beast and you really see where things are going and that he was one step ahead of everyone the entire time, that's awesome. I just wish he was in the movie more because he does die, and presumably he won't come back in another movie. David Dunn got his own full movie to himself, Kevin Wendell Crumb got his own full movie to himself, and Mr. Glass just gets shafted here, and that sucks. I like the relationship between David Dunn and his kid Joseph. It kind of just picks up right where it left off, but he's a lot older now, and I did appreciate that Shyamalan went through the effort to bring back the same actor, but that plot line just sort of falls apart after the first act. He has some funny scenes that I like later in the movie, but overall he's just not really in it after David Dunn is captured, and that sucks. My favorite character in the movie though is definitely Anya Taylor-Joy's Casey. Not only is her acting totally on point, but the arc continues in a really cool way. At first, the way she treats Kevin makes it look like Shyamalan is saying that if you treat the people who hurt you with compassion, they'll become better people and stop being bad, but that's just not the case if you really look into what the movie is trying to say. I think the way Casey sees it is not that Kevin is one person split 23 different ways, but that he's 23 different people in one body personality as a result of the abuse he suffered under his mom. I think the reason she shows Kevin love throughout this movie, even though he hurt her, is because she understands it wasn't Kevin and that he's hiding behind these personalities. And she wants him to understand that he can take the light and that he is strong enough to not hide behind them. The thing I really like about this movie is that it goes against the idea that everyone has to be equally good at everything and no one can be better at some things than other people, because that's just not how life works. The whole point of this movie to me is that it's okay to be better at things than other people, but even if that talent was brought on in a painful way, you still have a responsibility to use it to help people who don't have it. It's admittedly very similar to the X-Men universe, but it's more grounded and it's on much smaller of a scale here, so that's why I think I like it a little bit more. Just like Split, this movie is shot really well. It does flash back multiple times to Unbreakable, so you can see how far filmmaking has come in the past 19 years, and the soundtrack is awesome. It mixes both Unbreakable and Split's score, but it does have its own new tracks that work really well with the movie, and they give you that little emotional punch that you need in certain scenes. So overall, I just really appreciated that. Split was a surprise sequel to Unbreakable, and you really didn't need to see Unbreakable to get why Split was so good, but this is definitely a movie where you need to see the other two before checking it out. You really owe it to yourself to do so because both of those movies are really good, but there's just certain plot points and character motives that you won't really understand unless you have the background of those two movies. And once again, this review is just my opinion, and I'd love to hear yours down in the comments below once you check out the movie. And if you're not subscribed already, you definitely should, and let me know if you like this video by hitting the thumbs up. Anyways guys, my name is Jimmy Champagne, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.